Take your shot. Do you want to win or not? Take your shot. We will always win a lot. Take your shot. I know the demons want to stop. Take your shot. Take the shot.
Hey guys, welcome to the latest ZCodeSystem video, and glad to have you here on our YouTube page, or if you're watching on our ZCodeSystem blog, it's good to have you here. Now, we all know that the sports world has taken a hit due to the coronavirus pandemic that is going on right now, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have sports back up and running in not too long. Now, as if you're going through sports withdrawal right now, there are some countries that are continuing to play their respective sports. And you can go back to watch one of our recent YouTube videos here on our YouTube page to find out about some of the sports that are continuing to go on at the moment. That includes the KHL, which ice hockey played there in Russia. Now, one of the other sports leagues that is going on at the moment is the AFL. Now, that is the Aussie Rules Football League down under in Australia. They are kicking off this weekend, and as I speak to you right now, there is a game going on right now that I have right here on my monitor in my office. So, guys, this is a great chance for you. If you are going through your sports betting withdrawals or your sports withdrawals, this is something for you to watch and to wager on and to hopefully win profits on. Now, today in our video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Aussie Rules Football League and just a couple of the things that you might want to know and need to know if you are going to wager on the sport. Now, of course, you can go over to the ZCodeSystem blog. Right there is the blog that I've written today that you can read up on the Aussie Rules Football League, and you can also scroll down to find out some of the other things that are going on. And as you can see right there, there's the top 7 alternative sports to bet on that are still active right now. So that's something definitely to get onto right now if you are looking for some sports to wager on to continue to bring in those profits and to make money this year. Now, let's take a look at some things that you should know about the 2020 Australian Rules Football League season. All right, so if you are not familiar with Aussie Rules Football, it is a fast-paced, very exciting sport that looks like nothing you have ever seen before if you did not grow up with it in Australia. It is a wild combination of soccer and rugby, American football, and even basketball, some of the things that they do. It is a full contact sport with men wearing tank tops and short shorts. It is an incredible sport to watch, a lot of fun, and a lot of fun to wager on. So let's take a look at a few things to know about this season's Australian Rules Football League. All right, so are you ready to wager on some football? And that's Australian Rules Football. So to note, there are some changes to this year's AFL. And if you are a long-term fan of the Aussie Rules Football League, you will notice that this season, the changes have been shorter quarters. They're going to only play 16-minute quarters. So this is something to take into account because games could be lower scoring with the quarters being reduced. Now, also, teams are going to be able to use something called runners. Now, this is something that the AFL uses, and that is where they send on a member of the technical staff to relay messages from the coaches. Australian Rules Football is a game in which there is pretty much nonstop action going on. It is very much unlike American football or basketball, in which you have timeouts and you have plays that are run and stopped. So this is more akin to soccer and rugby, where things are always evolving and always moving. And this is the runners are a tactic that is used to just relay tactical information to the player. So this isn't something that necessarily could affect the betting at the moment, like the 16-minute quarters, but it is just something to keep an eye on because you will be seeing it. And especially it will be strange if you've never watched AFL before. So just to look at our recent winners in the Aussie Football League, and Richmond won the title last season. As you can see, West Coast Richmond again, the Western Bulldogs, and Hawthorn pulled together 3 straight titles in 2013, 14, 15. Now, the Australian season runs from March until September, October area, and in Australia that is the autumn to the spring. In the northern hemisphere, that will be the spring to the autumn. So, just some things to get our heads around. With the Aussie Rules Football League, it's really important to know that they play a 23-round season, and all teams will play. And once we get to the end of that 23-round season, we go into the playoffs. So the top tier teams will then make it into a playoffs called the final series until the champion is crowned. Now, last year's season saw 3 teams in the year all at the very top of the standings, or as they call it in Australia, the ladder, with Richmond being one of those teams. Geelong was another one, and the third one just slips my mind at the minute. But Richmond then went through the playoffs or the final series, and it lifted the Premier's trophy. So a lot of things can happen during the season. And if you look at the various betting markets that are provided for the Aussie Rules Football League, there are plenty to wager on, very much like soccer, the English Premier League, or even the NFL, but actually more akin to the English Premier League, for example, because you can bet on the teams to finish in the top 4. You can bet on the teams to finish at the very bottom. You can bet on the team to be the winner of the regular season, to have the most points in the ladder, and you can pick the team who is going to have or who's going to win the Premier's trophy at the end of the final series. So those are some great futures bets that you can wager on. But if you take a look at each individual match, there are also plenty of different markets you can wager on, from the game lines to overs, unders, total points. So lots of different things that you can wager on. And the best way to do this is to go to your online sportsbook and to just have a browse of the different markets that are offered with the Aussie Rules Football League. So this is a lot of fun that you can wager on, and something that, if you are a regular NFL bettor or English Premier League Soccer League bettor, this is something that you could definitely turn to right now in the wake of sports in other countries being postponed. Now, this is just a quick look. I just got this off of Odds Checker this morning. These are the top odds for the futures, top futures odds, shall I say, for the winner of the grand final this year. And the grand final is the finals game of the final series. So as you can see, Richmond are picked there at the very top to win in futures odds. West Coast, Collingwood, Greater Western Sydney, those teams all are the top ones right now, according to sportsbooks and AFL experts. So have a look at those on your own time. Go over to Odds Checker and check your favorite online sports betting book to get an idea of which teams are favored right now. And this may sway your decisions on how you want to bet on individual games. Now, a couple of tips for AFL betting for beginners. So I'm expecting a lot of you right now who are watching this to maybe not know a lot about the AFL and maybe never to have placed a wager on it. 23 rounds are coming up, and you can wager on each round of those. Of course, it's always a fool's bet to wager on every game per round, no matter which sport you are betting on. So it's always great, the better idea, to pick a certain game or a certain number of games, 2, 3, that you want to focus your betting on. So, of course, the first tip is always read, research, and repeat. The great thing about the AFL, now, if you live in another country outside of Australia and possibly New Zealand, you may not know a lot about the AFL, but this is one of, if not the number one sport down under. And it is a religion in the same way that the NFL in America or the Premier League in England, this is a religion in Australia. So there are a number of websites that are dedicated to the AFL, and you can find all kinds of information throughout the week about the upcoming matches, the previous matches of the best players, etc., and so forth. So you will be able to read and research all through the week about these teams and these players and these games that are coming up. As I said earlier, there are lots of markets that you can wager on with the AFL. Now, the outrights market, just like in the Premier League or the NFL, these are the simplest way to begin if you are a beginner, and a great way to kind of get an idea of what's happening in the AFL and how a game unfolds. Because if you've never seen this, you might want to watch a game or two to see how it unfolds. As I said before, a lot of markets to bet on, and some things to note that you might want to know is that games in the AFL can be high scoring. The scoring structure is very interesting, and it's something that you will have to do some research on. Now, there are plenty of websites that tell you how exactly the AFL works. I'm not going to go into detail here, but all you need to do is just Google AFL point scoring system and such, and you will be able to find out just how high scoring these games can be. Earlier today, just happened to look at the game that is going on right now, and I believe it was 51-20 just a second ago before it went to the break. So these games can be incredibly high scoring and something that you're going to want to watch, because if you want to bet on the total points or overs unders, then you need to know just where these teams and these games are going in terms of points scored. Now, two final tips here. Watch the games. Take in the fast-paced action. This is a sport where if you've never bet on it before, or if you've never watched it before, you should probably watch a game or two just to get an idea of how things are going. See how things unfold. Now, this is a great way, or a great reason, and a great time to use in-play betting. This can be your friend. If you're watching the games and you've never seen it before and you're not sure how to bet, watching the games and making an in-play bet, possibly after the first quarter or at halftime, this is the time you can make a very wise, educated bet to make a profit. So utilize your in-play betting when it comes to AFL until you get more of a grasp of the sport and you've watched a little bit more. Now, the AFL is such an exciting league, it's such an exciting sport to watch, and we recommend you have a look at it and get it into your betting rotation at the moment while you wait for some of these other sports to come back. And perhaps this may become one of your go-to sports in the future for sports betting. So definitely check back with ZCodeSystem, and don't forget to give our videos here on YouTube a like, and please subscribe. That way, every time a video is posted, you can come and watch it and get more up to date on the sports betting that is going on in the world today. Go over to ZCodeSystem and you can read the blogs there. You can find out all kinds of great information, including that 7 alternatives to sports betting right now that you can have a look at. And of course, sign up to the VIP club. So guys, good luck this weekend. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week with our next ZCodeSystem video.